Hello, everyone. I'm Andy.
Yeah, and I'm sort of Mark.
This is Strange Stuff Podcast on a very early Sunday morning.
Damn right. I can't believe they want you to go to work at any time, let
I
alone
know.
a Sunday.
It's just to keep the 3D printers running, basically.
Metal or plastic?
At the moment, it's 3 plastic ones I've been running over the weekend.
Really?
But if I just pop in for an hour on Saturday and an hour on Sunday, it's a hell of a lot of work gets done over the weekend because they're running for like 22-hour programs. So we've saved like half a week in the queue.
But as a matter of interest, how often does something like that fail? Of a 23-hour program, how often does it come out wrong?
I mean, basically it doesn't. Our printing is pretty spot on. The only thing that can happen is they'll run out of material or there'll be a material jam or something, but I can see all that from here.
Oh, really? It's all monitored remotely if you need to.
I mean, if I had a monkey, I wouldn't even have to go in. I could get the monkey to clear the bed and prepare the printer for the next job, and I could start the next job from here. But unfortunately, I am the fucking monkey.
So how a 23-hour program, how big a piece does that make?
It's not necessarily a big piece. It could be 20 small pieces all the same.
Oh, I see. All right. Okay. Yeah.
Or 3 medium-sized pieces. We print so much stuff. I mean, unbelievable amount of stuff.
All right.
It's 90% of our workshop's output.
Is it really now?
Yeah.
Is printing?
Yeah.
What are these service parts for the manufacturing machines?
We make everything. I mean, everything. Unbelievable. We make things, they're called tab smoothers that they use as spacers between the foil and the molds. And they don't last long, unfortunately. They get snapped and broken very quickly, maximum 7 days.
All right. Interesting.
So make hundreds of those.
And these are big, obviously industrial. How big is one of these printing machines in size? A meter cube or something?
Oh,
or
no,
bigger?
I mean, we've got like 7 or 8 printers. The ones I'm using are tabletop printers at the moment.
All right. So they are tabletop printers.
They're enclosed. They're based. They look like your home printer, but slightly bigger. One of them, the X7, is much bigger.
All right.
We've got an FX20, which is basically a furnace, and that prints metal. And that is basically the size of a fridge freezer.
All right.
Maybe a little bigger.
Interesting. Oh. No, it's good to know if I ever need a job for you to do on the side that you're going to have access to a nice 3D. Are you able to translate physical dimensions into a program that the printers can use?
I can, if you can get me an STL file.
Going to write that down, Andy. STL file. All right.
Then I can turn that into a 3D printer.
All right. Good to know. Very good to know. It's -14 here. It must be even colder up where you are.
It's actually quite balmy here. I think we're on -3 with a little bit of snow flurries.
Really?
Yeah.
God.
But we did have I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yes.
When we had an overnight bit of nonsense, and I opened the door to go to work at 5:30, and the snow was up to the top of my garden gate.
No.
Yeah.
Drifting, really?
Yeah, drifting.
How exciting.
So I dug out to the driveway and I put the shovel down into the snow on the driveway, and it was easily 1/2 metre.
Really?
So there was no way my car was going anywhere. I had to wait.
Did you
wait
phone?
for the ploughing. No, I didn't phone. I just sent a message saying, not even
Snowed in.
possible to move my car. I'll get there when I can. So it was 9 o'clock, I think, by the time I got to work. I wasn't the only one. There was about 5 people who were late and 3 who didn't come at all.
3 who didn't come at all. That's not the right attitude when
Well,
they're choosing who to make redundant.
I wished I hadn't come at all, because by the time I got there was nowhere to park. I ended up parking like fucking kilometre away or something. It killed me walking into work.
Oh, of course, then you got the walk. Yeah. Anyway, other than the weather, 3D printing, what else is going on?
Trump, of course, keeping us entertained.
He hasn't done much, has he?
Hasn't he? Didn't he?
What's he done?
He's signing some new orders.
Oh, yeah, loads of those, for sure. I was listening to the, when they question people who are going to take up big roles, and this fellow Kennedy, who's going to be the health minister, the anti-vaxxer health minister.
I mean, just looking at his family history, you would say no to anyone called Kennedy, for fuck's sake.
I know. But, it's just amazing how politicians, especially people like him, he's a well-seasoned politician, are so skilled in twisting what is an obvious reality into something that suits their side. He was being interviewed by Bernie Sanders, who's I'm a bit of a fanboy of Bernie Sanders, and Kennedy made the point, hang on a second, Bernie, you were the biggest recipient of funds from the big pharma companies. So you can't talk to me about corruption. And, that sounds perfectly reasonable until
you realise
that it was the workers in big pharma that had given small contributions to Bernie Sanders to represent the workforce.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with corporate chairman writing out millions in checks. It was the actual workers who were supporting Bernie. But the thing is that if you just hear that little soundbite, oh really, Bernie, he was the biggest receiver of funds from big pharma, and suddenly your whole, it's like
didn't he have the sense to say, yes, that's true, but
no, he did. He said, yeah, but hang on a second, Kennedy man.
Yeah.
That was $10 contributions from every worker in Big Pharma, because they're getting their arses handed to them by the executives being paid hundreds of millions of dollars of... Anyway, whatever. There was a very funny joke. We were talking about it a couple of weeks ago with Elon Musk doing the Nazi salute.
Mm.
So Stephen Fry's being interviewed, and he says something like, this is ridiculous. Elon Musk can't be a Nazi. The Nazis produced good cars.
He's having a rough time. I don't understand how...
Who, Elon or Stephen Fry?
Well, Elon is having a tough time, isn't he? I don't understand how he can sit there with a straight face while Donald Trump takes away the subsidy for electric vehicles in America and doesn't take it as a personal kick in the nuts as the world's largest producer of electric cars.
Well, the thing is that what I find incredible is anybody, and you correct me if I'm wrong, anybody who's ever been associated with Trump has ended up getting kicked in the nuts. All his lawyers, all his associates, they've either got kicked in the nuts or they end up in prison.
Even his hookers.
I mean, it's just, why would you associate yourself with that fellow? It's like just signing your own death warrant.
I mean, he's got them lined up, though, hasn't he? I mean, he's got the biggest bunch of losers. It's horrible to see that the world. I mean, someone said once, I can't remember who it was, that the world will come to an end at the hands of powerful men, but nobody could imagine that they would all be such losers.
No, but isn't it interesting how, I tell you what annoys me most about Trump and his success, and I suppose you can call it, I suppose it's sort of envy in a way, that someone who is patently so uncultured and narrow-minded can be successful in this world. Isn't it Trump who's never read a book?
I would imagine he's never read a book. Someone probably read one to him
I've
once.
never read a book. I don't need a book. I've never read a book. You know, how can someone who's never read a book be so successful? Well, you know, he obviously is successful because he's the president of the United States. How can that be? How can we live in a world like that? That people like that get rewarded with such big rewards, and all of his bloody offspring as well. That's what winds me up. You know, intelligent, creative, talented people in the world, and who gets to be president? Trump.
Yeah, but that's the way it is in every walk of life. Unfortunately, the person at the top is usually a complete fucking moron. In most companies, in most businesses. No, it's true. They haven't got a clue.
I think you're probably right, because you have to be so single-minded in terms of your focus and your objective simply being successful and the boss, that if you have that mentality, it sort of doesn't go with actually using intellect or logic or talent or anything like that. It's opposites. They're not compatible. Those qualities are not compatible in a person. If you're ludicrously ambitious, I suppose it's just down to ego. People who are driven by ego, generally speaking, are not that talented because they're consumed by ego.
All they're interested in is getting to the top at whatever cost.
Exactly. Whereas someone who shows humility understands, firstly, their own limitations and importance. And I think that makes for a much, much stronger boss. Someone who's open to constructive criticism, you know, the complete opposite of someone like Trump, who closes down criticism to the extent he actually sends emails saying that if you disagree with me, you're out of your job.
Yeah. I did try to listen to that podcast that you recommended with the guy with the funny voice.
I don't think he's got a funny voice. I don't know what you're talking about. Rory Stewart. The rest is politics.
The rest is politics. I tried. Unfortunately, they set straight off with a 15-minute scam trying to sell you electricity from a different provider.
No, that is a very good point.
I'm sorry, but fuck off, you money-grabbing little hypocritical fuckfaces. If you're trying to talk to us about integrity in politics, do not try and flog us electricity at the same time from a different company.
No,
I'm sorry. No. And then as soon as that had finished, adverts. It was 10, 15 minutes before they even started talking, it felt like.
Yeah, but that was just because you're a cheapskate free subscription to Spotify. That's got nothing to do with them.
That's got nothing to do with it.
That happens on the Strange Stuff podcast.
No, it does not.
Of course it does.
No, we don't have adverts.
What do you mean? It's not us that decides whether we have adverts. It's the platform on which we're transmitting. Of course we've got adverts. Why would they put our ridiculous podcast up on Spotify if they had no chance? We don't pay them.
We do not try to flog them fucking scam electrics. We do not say, oh, you know what you should do? And this is a really good deal. Oh, yes, it's really posh. It's just fuck off. Motherfuckers. It's like watching the ITV.
It is a little bit grating. I completely accept that. It is a little bit grating, but it's not as if it's so blatant. I mean, they're not trying to fool you into something. They are saying we are sponsored by this electrical company.
Yeah, but leave it at that.
Yeah, but that's what they do.
No, they don't. They go on to tell you about the tariffs and how they're competitive. And just say we're sponsored by electric company. Sorry.
Well, look, I'll tell you what, Andy. Let me put it to you like this: I can't remember how much they earn off their podcast. They're one of the most successful podcasts in English.
No, I doubt it.
Well, I think they are. I think they are.
They are, but I can promise you there's hundreds more successful. Hundreds.
Then the rest
literally
is politics.
Hundreds.
Yeah, but hundreds out of a market of millions of podcasts that appear. Anyway, all I'm saying is I wouldn't mind having a bit of that.
See, I wouldn't sell myself out for it. I just couldn't.
No, you would.
Fuck off. I've said from day one we will never have adverts.
Yeah, but that's because no one's waved a wad of cash in front of you.
They have.
Oh.
But it was more of a jingle.
You'd be there grovelling on you. Exactly, a bit of change. You'd be there down on your knees. Yes, sir, please, sir. 3 bags full, sir. 5 quid? Really? Oh, absolutely, sir.
This podcast will never, ever have sponsors unless it's something I truly believe in.
What do you truly? You don't believe in anything.
Cartier, they could sponsor us. Most alcohol companies.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
Hooters. Now, if Hooters wanted to sponsor us, I would be all the way in.
Why would Hooters want to be associated with you and me?
Why not? We're their perfect customers.
I don't think we are, actually. Isn't the demographic a bit younger for Hooters?
No, I think, it attracts younger people, but the perfect demographic is the older gentlemen.
Oh, maybe.
Because they're the ones who are more likely to leave the bigger tips.
Maybe. Yeah. Who've actually got some money to spend.
I've got a tip for them.
God, dear. Oh, dear. Oops, sorry. Did I touch the microphone? Oh, look. I can see the top of my microphone. Oh, you can see your microphone as well, actually.
Yes, I have it on the table in front of me.
So there's a bit of Trump. Nothing else I don't think's really happened other than the plane crash, of course.
Yeah, of course, American Airlines. And there's been 2, in fact. There was a private plane went down as well.
Really?
Yeah, I remember reading something somewhere.
I wonder how the press in America responded to Trump's comments relating to the crash.
Well, he's absolutely right, unfortunately.
You're just saying that to get me laughing.
It should have been prevented.
I'll tell you what.
What the hell is a military helicopter doing on a flight path approach to a fucking international airport?
Oh, sorry. Well, I don't know about that. I thought you were going to say because you blame the dwarves as well.
That's the dwarves got to do with anything.
What do you mean? That's what Trump was saying.
Wait, he said it was Snow White's inside job.
He literally, in his 1-hour press rant, was saying it was diversity that killed these people. Do you know they actually employ dwarfs? Actively employ dwarfs.
Actively?
And he was saying that how can you have mentally unstable people working in air traffic control? And it was like, what are you talking about? Mentally unstable people working in air traffic control. It was just outrageous. So anyway, my point being, it was so outrageous. I was wondering, actually, I should have checked how the American press was reporting it. I mean, how can Fox News paint a pretty picture of someone 12 hours after 67 people have died going on about Biden killed them because of his diversity rules? I mean, it's just, oh God. Anyway, I mean, that was,
but I wonder
it was pretty terrible. And in fact, which will play into Trump's book, I think it was a female pilot.
Oh, well, that's
in the army helicopter.
Oh, that's case solved.
I think it was a woman. So clearly all women are obviously terrible pilots. And
Was she
why on
also
earth?
a dwarf?
Exactly.
This would be the final nail in the coffin.
Oh,
I
God.
wonder what the American Association of American Dwarfs think about Trump's comments. I wonder if there'll be a strike at Christmas in the pantomime season.
But, it's just so incredible that someone can be so disconnected from the real world that some 27-year-old advisor whispers in his ear, they're employing dwarfs, and he's so stupid that he goes out on a platform when he's making a press statement and starts talking about dwarfs.
But the thing is, his backroom staff probably have a game whereby they try and make him say the most
ridiculous
thing.
Exactly.
And it's like the winner every week gets a bottle of Dom or something.
No, but I mean, you say that jokingly, but I would not be surprised if that's actually the case. What can we get him to say now?
I would be all in on that one.
We don't have to go back into the COVID, but that absolute classic where he started promoting the idea of
injecting bleach.
Bleach is really good at killing everything. Why don't we drink bleach? And then he looks behind him to the medical doctor, and she's sort of thinking, "Oh my God, yes, exactly."
It says on the bottle, it kills 99% of all known germs.
Oh dear! I'll tell you what, we could do this.
I mean, Ricky Gervais said it best, and I think he must have been talking about Donald Trump. And he said, when we have like a reason for a referendum or something like that, they say, "Oh, let's ask the average man." Stop asking the average man, because the average man is a fucking moron. We still have on bottles of bleach, "Do not drink." So take that label away for 2 years.
Yes, that's right. I saw
just
that.
For 2 years.
It was quite a funny skit. That would remove the really stupid people from the population.
Do not drink.
Oh dear. Anyway, so that's going on, of course, those poor people. It must have been bloody cold. I mean, hopefully it went up in a ball of fire and they didn't know what the hell was going on.
Oh, it exploded. I mean, there was a big explosion on impact and the plane just disintegrated more or less.
So, because I'll tell you what, I think it was quite a big old helicopter. It wasn't a small helicopter.
I think it was a Sikorsky Sky Crane.
Yes, exactly. Black Hawk.
Oh, it was a Black
Hawk. Which is a similar size. Yeah, exactly.
It's a double rotor job, isn't it?
No. It's a single rotor job, but it's a big old piece of kit. It's, you can get 15 people slung into the back.
I've been up in a Wessex Sea King.
Have you? What, going to the rigs? You actually had a job on the rigs, did you?
No, when I was in the Sea Cadets.
Really? How exciting.
It was terrifying.
Did you have to wear a dry suit?
We did, and we had the helmet and everything, but because we were like on a kind of official training mission.
Mission?
Yeah,
no one has ever sent you on a mission.
You know how they start a Wessex Sea King helicopter?
Yeah, it's a bloke outside. He's going like that, isn't he? Pushing the...
Oh, no, how you start the engine.
Yeah, that's the pull.
It's a detonator.
What?
Yeah, they literally detonate something to start the engine. It's mad. And then when we were cruising at some altitude, they killed the engine.
Bollocks, did they?
No, they did. And they let us drop.
No,
yes.
I'm sorry. That's an exaggeration. It would be nice to think it was true that you were plummeting towards the earth.
Helicopters don't plummet.
They sort of plummet.
They don't. They drop, but they use the motion caused by the wind.
Yeah, auto-rotation. I know. No. But the point is that they have to get to a critical speed.
They use that to restart the engine.
Look, you're talking to someone who knows something about aeronautics.
Yeah, but you automatically call me a fucking liar on everything I ever say. And you'd be amazed at how much of it is true, including this. I have experienced this.
And did you survive?
No, we all died on impact. Fucking hell. Drink some bleach.
I'll tell you what.
Put some more bleach in your tea.
If you really did, I bet you came back with soiled underwear, because
No, I
the
didn't.
experience of dropping without power in a Wessex, they must go down quite quickly.
They don't go down that quickly. You don't even notice it, to be honest. We had the
Really?
doors open already.
What, to jump?
No, they just don't bother shutting the doors.
With you on the side, I'm not surprised.
And now we're going to bank right.
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
We were strapped in.
You remember that bit? Oh dear, of course you were a sea cadet, weren't you? Yeah, I can't claim anything like that. I wasn't a cadet of any sort. Space cadet.
Didn't you go to West Point for your officer training?
That's in America, Andy.
Ah,
Sandhurst. I would have gone to Sandhurst.
Yeah.
No, I didn't go to Sandhurst.
Right,
have we got a subject matter today? We can't. I mean, I know it entertains us, but I don't know whether it's very entertaining for any poor listener that may have accidentally tuned into our podcast.
Well, when I was researching Salon Kitty,
yes,
I looked at a couple of other World War II stories, and there was one which kind of fell in the middle of strange stuff and murdery bits.
All right, yeah.
And I thought, it's not gory particularly. It's kind of comedy, so I thought it'd do for us.
We like a bit of comedy World War II story.
And I mean, for something to stand out, like an atrocity, as it were, to stand out in the middle of World War II, they've got to be pretty goddamn irredeemable.
And who is the doer of the atrocity?
It's a French guy called Marcel Petiot.
Oh, sorry. I was just assuming it was German, actually. It was a Frenchman who did the atrocity, was it?
Yes, he operated out of France during World War II.
Whereabouts? Was he in... where was the collaborators? Where were they? Vichy.
Well,
Vichy.
He was born in Auxerre in France.
Don't know where that is.
Auxerre.
Oh, yes. Auxerre. That's near Cognac.
Oh, I'll just have a double. Thank you.
Let me see if that's complete nonsense.
He was born on the 17th of January in 1897.
Yeah.
And the writing was on the wall pretty early on in his life because there was something missing in his little psyche. At the age of 11, for some reason, he took his father's gun to class one day and fired it.
What, while it was in class?
Yes, at the age of 11. And later on the same year, he propositioned another 11-year-old for sex.
Another girl? A girl?
I'm sort of hoping, but also not hoping, if you know what I mean. I mean, propositioning any 11-year-old for sex is a bit... Oh, no, it started properly snowing outside.
It is southeast of Paris, and I can't see where Cognac is, so I can't tell you. Actually, it's not where I thought. It's further. Oh, no, it's right in the middle of France, basically.
Right.
Auxerre. Sorry, what was this bloke's name?
Marcel Petiot.
You can't get a much better name. What does Marcel translate into other languages?
Mickey or Mark. Yeah, Mark, actually. It's you.
Is it? Maybe. Marcel. Could be. Anyway, so he's propositioned two unfortunate 11-year-old girls at the end of a gun.
Well, one of them. Anyway. I have a gun. Let us do this sex.
So what happened? What happened?
Well, I mean, that obviously led to an expulsion, but it was the first of many. As a teenager, he robbed a postbox and was subsequently arrested for theft and damaging of public property.
Yeah, postbox is a bit innocent. I can imagine you with a big screwdriver trying to lever open a postbox.
Stick 'em up, you stupid books. This resulted in his first psychiatric evaluation.
Oh dear. Hang on a second. Sorry. What year are we in?
Oh, he was born in 1897. So we're looking at early 1900s.
All right.
1910, 1913.
Hang on. All right. So this is long before.
Yeah, this is as a teenager.
Yep. All right. Good.
His criminal charges were actually dropped when he was diagnosed with a mental. But his first run-ins with the law didn't really dissuade Marcel from his criminal I think we should just call him Mark from now on.
No, I don't want to be associated with this fellow.
It didn't really dissuade Mark from his criminal exploits. He continued to be a delinquent and was repeatedly arrested. And these later arrests led to his diagnosis being reaffirmed in 1914 at the start of the First World War.
Yeah.
Now, being France, being mental didn't mean that the French army wouldn't accept him to join the war effort in 1916. And he hadn't been serving for long when he was injured in the Second Battle of the Arse, I want to say. Second Battle of the Arse, we'll call it. It's AISNE.
AISNE. Asne. Never heard of it.
Yeah. Well,
I don't remember the first one.
I don't remember
the first one, but I don't remember the second one.
No, I was going to say, I don't remember the first Battle of the Arse because as far as I knew, France just bloody well surrendered, didn't they? In a matter of hours.
The Vichy. No. They held out for a year.
A year, my arse. Ah, yeah. A year in arse. Anyway, this led to another psychiatric evaluation during which he was diagnosed with having had a complete breakdown. And this diagnosis meant that he was shipped out to a series of rest homes. Military service hadn't done much to straighten him out, and he was once again arrested, this time for stealing military blankets and morphine, as well as the personal items of other recuperating servicemen. So he was a little bit of a thiefy.
Marcel.
I mean, he couldn't keep his hands off other people's property, basically. And he was a born liar, was our Mark.
Marcel.
Now, Mark was sent to a psychiatric hospital in Fleury-les-Aubrais.
Don't know that one either.
He was, yet again, diagnosed with yet more mentals. And he was treated and shipped back out to the front in June of 1918. And this...
I was actually surprised that they did any sort of mental assessment on anybody in the First World War, because that's when they all went nuts with post-traumatic stress disorder and such. Like, they're all going mad.
Yeah, I think you'd have to be really mental to get any chance of being diagnosed.
I was going to say, really, really crazy. Yeah. Stealing a few blankets wouldn't have qualified.
They probably weren't used to such an obvious
kleptomaniac. All right, so he's got another assessment, and what happens this time?
Well, this time he was treated and shipped back out to the front.
That's right, 1918 this was. And so that's just before the end of the war.
In fact, it was June of 1918. I think the end of the war was September. With the first World
November.
War.
November.
Now, this last deployment
11 o'clock
was cut short when he injured his foot with a grenade. Now, I'm not sure if it was his own grenade or if he stepped on a grenade or a landmine or something, but he was diagnosed. You have a dodgy foot. Well, I mean, fucking hell, if you've injured your foot with a grenade, you don't really need a diagnosis, do you?
If you remind me,
your foot.
Talking about grenades, I don't want to spoil your flow. You can remind me at the end of the story. Did you know what's going on in Sweden with all these explosions? Do you know why all of these explosions are happening?
You got me puzzled at the word explosions. We're having explosions?
Well, apparently all the time. Grenades going off all the time.
Are they?
Yep.
What, out in public, you mean?
Yeah. Well, not in public, but I couldn't. I just thought it was rival gangs or some lunacy. But in fact, what it is, sorry to spoil the flow, but what it is people are blackmailing companies.
Oh,
so
right.
if you don't pay, I'm going to blow up your premises, and they don't pay because they're Swedes. So they say, don't be stupid. I'm not paying you anything. And then suddenly
grenades through the window.
Throw a grenade through the window. So that's what's doing it. And what's even worse is these are foreign-based criminal gangs who primarily employ young kids to do it.
Yeah.
So they're below the age of criminal responsibility. Anyway, sorry, it was just when you said grenade, I thought, what the hell is going on in Sweden at the moment?
That's what you get with your diversity.
Well, it's got nothing to do with diversity in Sweden. It's to do with criminal gangs seeing easy targets in Sweden. Yes. I don't know. Maybe it happens in other countries as well, but it's so unusual, for that sort of thing to happen here. Anyway, I digress. You mentioned the word grenade, and that's how my brain works or doesn't work.
Anyway, this time he was diagnosed
with a
grenade foot, and sent home with a military pension.
Really?
Yeah.
That must have been everybody's dream.
Yeah, but I mean, it literally had to blow off half his foot to achieve it.
Mm.
Now, when the war ended,
2 months later,
Petiot joined the Accelerated Education Program for War Veterans.
What did they accelerate him into, I wonder?
Well, within 8 months, he had finished medical school.
No, I was just about to joke. Did he become a doctor?
He had finished medical school and was working as an intern at Evro. Now, for the first time in his life, he kept his head down and he graduated in December 1921. So he became a doctor in less than 3 years.
All right. Well, actually, that's quite good going.
But I would like to know who checked his fucking records before he got accepted as a doctor anywhere. He's a morphine thief, for one thing.
You're right. Yeah, but they didn't have digital records in those days.
Well, now, you'd think this is a guy who's learned the error of his ways and he's decided to forge a career for himself instead of being a ne'er-do-well.
You're right.
You would be absolutely wrong.
Because
he moved...
Having become a doctor,
he moved to Villeneuve-sur-Yonne, where he
Villeneuve-sur-Yonne.
Villeneuve-sur-Yonne, where he wasted no time in going back to his criminal ways. He purposely got his patients hooked on addictive drugs.
Ooh.
And then secretly applied for state medical assistance for said patients, which meant he was getting paid both by his patients and the government for each treatment, double dipping, as it were. It was also claimed he was carrying out backroom abortions, and he stole personal possessions from his patients because he's a klepto.
He's a man.
Now,
he's the one.
In 1926, Petiot met a young lady called Louise Delaveau, who was the daughter of an elderly patient. So now he's found love and he's got his career. You think maybe it's time to turn over a new leaf.
So he's 30 by now. He is 30 or thereabouts. Born in 97. This is
1926. Yeah, so he's 30.
Yeah.
However, she is widely believed to have become his first murder victim. She disappeared in May of the same year.
The same year? She
The
didn't even
same
last a
year.
year.
No. She obviously couldn't cook or something. What is this you put on my plate in front of me? You stupid woman.
So this poor girl, she's finished.
Well, neighbours reported seeing Petiot
Digging a grave in the back garden.
placing a large trunk in his car around the same time that Delavaux had disappeared. Now, I have a question. I'm 60-something years old.
Yes.
And I have never in my life owned a small trunk, let alone a fucking large one. Who the fuck owns a trunk?
I mean, in those days, people used to have trunks. That's not that unusual. Seriously, you've never owned a trunk?
Why would I?
I've
what
got
do
a
you
trunk
put
downstairs.
in a trunk? Trunks are for elephants.
Old photographs.
A trunk?
Yeah, full of old photographs.
What kind of perverted porno photos have you got that need locking in a trunk?
They're just family photos, you idiot.
Do
people have possessions.
Do you keep even the secret family photos in there? You know, the ones that you hide away in the closets because they're...
What?
The inbred ones.
Say?
The cousin marriages and the sister brothers.
There's no inbreeding in my family. Not that I've got photographs of, anyway.
No, exactly. It's like the Queen hiding away her cousin.
What do you mean her cousin?
Wasn't
Margaret?
No, they had Princess Alice, was it? Locked away in Buckingham Palace for many years. No, it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true.
She was locked away in a tower in Buckingham Palace.
More or less. It might not have been in Buck House, but she was definitely locked away. She was a mental.
Well, you don't lock people with mental disorders
up. You do if you're the royal family. You can't have that out in public. That's absolutely no.
Princess Alice, I'm going to look up. Oh, that's where the Alice band comes from. That's what girls wear to hold their hair back.
She was banned from being seen in public.
Ah, good one, Andy. Yep. Carry on. So this poor wife disappears.
Right. Police investigated this trunk. You have a trunk in your car? Yes, I do. It is called a boot in England. Oh, that joke went right over your head.
Sorry, a boot in England. What?
You have a trunk in your car? I do, but in England we call it a boot.
Yep, carry on. Not that funny.
It was first time. It's never funny when you repeat it. Go on. Apologise.
I'm sorry.
So, police investigated but found nothing. But a few weeks later, they pulled a similar trunk out of the Yonne River, and it was full of unidentified female body parts. Now, if the police were on the ball that day, they could have put two and two together.
Oh,
we've got a similar trunk to that of Dr. Petiot, whose wife was reported missing, and he was seen putting a trunk in his car, and this one is full of female body parts.
But they didn't.
Coincidence? Yeah, probably. No. Now, this scandal didn't really slow Petiot down. He became mayor later that same year.
He's doing bloody well. He's become a doctor. Keep hitting the microphone. Now he's the mayor, and he's still only 30-ish.
He's gone from a sex pest, a con man, a thief,
a murderer,
basically a draft dodger, a murderer, to doctor, and now he's the mayor. And the following year, he married Georgette Lablay, the daughter of a wealthy landowner.
All right.
And they had a son who was born in 1928.
All right. And what happened to him? Georgette? His
mayorship was full of various scandals, including embezzlement and theft, as well as a healthy dose of fraud. And he resigned after 3 years in August of 31. But his charm was such that he still had many supporters. And he was elected once again, but this time as a councillor. But this proved to be quite short-lived, as it was soon discovered he'd been stealing electricity.
Electricity. God,
Oh,
dear.
he's a star, this guy.
A quality character, Marcel Petiot.
He is definitely a character. By the time he'd lost his council seat, he'd already moved to Paris to reinvent himself. He used fake credentials to attract wealthy patients, again, a doctor, and he set up a well-respected practice at number 66 Rue de la Caumartine. He went back to his old habits of prescribing addictive drugs and committing fraud. He was also institutionalized for kleptomania around this time.
What? Is he still married to his wealthy industrialist daughter?
I'm not entirely sure how long or if that marriage lasted. It might come later in the tale.
I'm glad you've read through the whole tale before.
I don't like to read the whole thing because it doesn't come out naturally if you read it for the second time. It's just news
with a bit
to
of
me.
practice, it actually does.
No, it's much more natural this way.
I thought I was the one that was supposed to feign shock and horror and surprise.
Research should not be a chore.
Clearly.
Although I am researching a case that Luke has requested at the moment, which involves listening to 10 podcast episodes.
Of someone else?
Yeah, and it's hard work. It's hard work. I'm not sure how I'm going to approach it.
Right, so this fellow is seeking treatment for being a kleptomaniac.
No, he's not seeking treatment. They locked him up.
Oh, right.
He was institutionalized for kleptomania.
All right.
But he was soon released, probably because he stole his notes. or he maybe signed the form himself. He is a doctor after all. So up to this point, Petiot had proven himself to be a mental and largely without morals, but he'd done little to earn himself the name that he ended up with, Dr. Satan. Besides,
that's a bit strong.
Besides the likely murder of Delavaux. Suffice it to say that World War II brought out the worst in this already deeply troubled man.
Oh, dear. Yeah, we haven't even got to World War II.
Well, we have now. Petiot managed to dodge the forced 1940 German draft of French civilians by forging disability certificates and continuing his work as a doctor.
What do you mean he'd lost his foot with the old grenade
I don't think he
accident?
lost his foot, and I don't think the German High Command would be too fussed about any missing body parts for the French civilians if they were going to send them off to the front line.
So he was 43. Yeah, he was definitely combat age, wasn't he? Combat age.
So he continued his work as a doctor, but he was also portraying himself as a hero.
Hero of...
Well, he claimed to be fighting the German occupation and being a part of the French resistance.
All right, so he's a resistance claimant.
So in reality, what he did was this, right? Under the guise of Dr. Eugene, he set up a fake escape network. He claimed to be able to get those who the Germans were persecuting out of France via passage to Argentina and other South American nations via Portugal. His price was 25,000 francs per person. Now, I don't know how much that is in today's money. It's probably nearly 70p.
No, it was 25,000 francs. That's 2,500 euros. Hey, 2,500 quid.
Yes, but this is back in 1940.
No, I'm sorry. So it's a fair chunk of money.
So Jews, resistance fighters, and convicted criminals were directed to Dr. Satan by 3 of his co-conspirators. And he told these people that after being paid, that an inoculation was required for entry into Argentina. When they agreed to receive the inoculation, he would then inject them with cyanide.
Oh my God, he really has turned dark, hasn't he, this fellow?
Yeah, and once they died, he would rob them of their possessions because he's a klepto, and then he disposed of the bodies. Now, first he just dumped them in the Seine, but after a while, this became a bit too risky because there was a bit of a log jam going up and down the River Seine. So he changed tactics and he submerged them in quicklime or he burnt them. The Gestapo, however, eventually got wind of what was going on. They had heard rumours of Dr. Satan's escape route, and they believed him to be affiliated with the Resistance. They forced a prisoner, a chap called Robert Dreyfus, to approach the escape network, but he vanished. Probably into a lime pit.
Cyanide is not a great way to go, is it?
No, any way is not a great way to go.
No, but isn't cyanide poisoning, isn't that pretty horrible? That's painful, isn't it?
If you ingest it, it's quite awful. If it's injected straight into your bloodstream, I would imagine it's pretty quick.
Anyway, so he carries on. Oof, yeah. So the SS are onto him. I hope they.
Well, I mean, for the SS to be a bit disgusted and shocked, it must have been bad.
Correct.
Well, eventually they gathered enough evidence to arrest 3 of Petiot's accomplices, but they never got the man himself. Despite torturing the 3 men, the Gestapo never gained any actionable intel on the resistance. And it never even occurred to the Gestapo that this was because they were dealing with with a serial killer, not a people smuggler. There was no intel.
So do you think his 3 accomplices obviously also didn't realise that he was killing all these people that they were bringing in?
No, otherwise he'd have had to share the money. He's not a caring, sharing guy. Now, on March the 11th, 1944, his luck finally ran out, poor old Dr. Satan.
Thank God for that.
His neighbours complained to the police of foul smells emanating from his home, as well as large amounts of smoke coming from his chimney. Now, fearing a fire, the police summoned firemen and entered the house.
Oh dear. And what did they find?
Well, it was a bit of a house of horrors.
I can imagine.
The basement was the buried remains of about 10 people. In the roaring fire of the coal stove were yet more human remains. When they inspected the backyard, they found even more remains in a quicklime pit. The house was literally full of suitcases, clothing, and personal property of his victims, like a hoarder's house. The media soon caught wind of the story, and a media circus followed, during which Petiot was dubbed Dr. Satan. Petiot, however, had escaped and managed to stay hidden for 7 months. He managed to hide out until the liberation of Paris in 1944, and he did this by telling friends that the police had found the bodies of Germans and informers that he had killed for the cause, so they helped him hide. He was finally caught on the 31st of October 1944 when he was recognised at Paris metro station and arrested. Now, ever the con man, Dr. Satan believed he could get away with this just one more time, and at his trial, he repeated the claims that he'd been a member of the resistance. He stated the bodies were those of informers and German conspirators, and he claimed that they had been killed by his allies in the resistance, not him. But this time his luck had run out. Dr. Satan had no allies in the resistance, and half the groups he claimed to have joined had never even existed. He was eventually convicted of 26 counts of murder and sentenced to death, and Dr. Satan was executed by beheading on the 25th of May, 1946. Madame la Guillotine.
They didn't have the guillotine in those days, surely.
I hope so. I hope it was the guillotine, otherwise it's a bloke with an axe.
Bloody hellfire. In 1946, they had beheading as the death penalty in France.
They probably had VE Day, followed by the beheading of Dr. Seton. The fact is, he was guilty of probably many more than 26 murders.
Well, those are the ones that they found in his backyard.
Exactly. I mean, let alone the ones that went floating down the Seine. He took the true number with him to the grave. But it's a bit of a reminder of how evil men can slip through the cracks, especially during times of war. I mean,
I'm sorry. I've got to stop to tell you, I've had another Apple iPhone thing. So I type in the word last, and I have the letter G.
Guillotine.
Last guillotine execution is the first thing that comes up.
They're listening.
I mean, what more proof do you need that my phone is listening to me? Last, the letter G.
Yep.
And the first thing, last guillotine execution. Holy shit.
Was it 1973 or something? Come on. We've got dead air here. Come on.
The last person to be executed by guillotine was on the 10th of September, 1977.
Yes, the 70s. I said it was the 70s.
Can you imagine? Oh, as in our lifetime. Anyway, so he finally got executed.
Yeah.
Did he go to meet his maker, or did he end up in the fiery depths of hell?
He was very indifferent. I mean, I've seen a photograph of him actually sleeping during his trial. Just doesn't care. But I thought it was a great story because, I mean, it is comedy, even though it's tragedy. But the fact that he was able to do everything that he did and not one red flag was raised anywhere along the way, it's just incredible to me.
It is literally incredible.
I mean,
but you can sort of, I don't know why I'm saying it, but you can sort of understand it in the early 1900s because, they didn't have communications as they do these days. But
he was in at least 4 or 5 different mental institutions.
Yeah,
He had a war record which wasn't glowing, and they immediately say, "Hey, why don't you train as a doctor, seeing as you like stealing morphine?" For fuck's sake!
Oh dear. Well, in fact, hang on a second. We've just had that lunatic fellow who was pimping out his wife.
Oh, that's right. It was another Frenchman.
So there's something about French-speaking people, because Belgium's come up with the occasional child in the cellar story, don't they?
Yeah. You do better, continental Europe.
You're right. God, dear.
Well, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Unfortunately, it was I want to say it was a fun story because it was, but there was also death involved.
I've just noticed the name on your bloody screen now says Superstar.
Yes.
Do you actually spend time thinking up words that most inaccurately describe you?
It's not me, you understand. It's my team. Thanks, guys.
Your cats, they have an input, do they, into what they call you? Oh, God. Well, let's see what this week... Oh, hang on a second. Not that the listeners are bothered, but I'm away next Sunday.
That's fine, because I am working this week and then I'm off. I've taken a week's vacay.
Are you? Okay, what are you going to do with it? Go skiing? No.
I've got too much vacation days left, apparently. And if I don't use them, I lose them.
And you definitely don't want to lose them.
No, so, I mean, I could take money for them, but that defeats the object of vacation days.
Can't you take some money? Oh, well, assuming they're going to pay you.
No, they will.
Why don't you take some money and some vacation days? Or is that what you're going to do?
They're my vacation days. I'm going to use them. So I'm having a week in February and a week in March. And I'm still carrying 5 days over to next year.
Right. That sounds like a bit of a long way off, bearing in mind where you work.
Not really. I mean, yes, we are having more layoffs.
Oh, that's what?
Yeah, not us, but one of our sister blogs, which is actually on my site anyway, but 90 people.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they the construction people?
No, this is in the process. It's in I can't really say. It's kind of sensitive, but
of course,
they're involved in our processes.
All right. God, dear.
But it was always on the cards, because what they did was they moved a lot of people around rather than get rid of them in the first wave. But they've overstaffed certain areas, and we just don't need them. It's just waste.
Do you have a canteen?
We have many different kitchens,
but no one actually producing food.
No, our restaurant shut down. We had a restaurant. It's gone. I told you they took away our coffee machines.
I know. Yeah.
And then they after we've set up like a little coffee and tea station in our workshop.
Yeah.
And then we got an email saying no one is allowed to set up coffee and tea stations outside of the kitchen areas. And we all collectively put our middle fingers up and said, fuck you. If you're not going to provide tea and coffee, we'll provide our own, whether you like it or not. It's the law in England that you have tea at work. It's the fucking law. And I'm having it.
All right.
Anyway, that brings us to the end of this wonderful episode.
Yes, well done early. And the sun's up, Andy. We got light outside. I can turn this light out.
So thanks, everyone, for listening. Hope you enjoyed the story of Marc Petiot.
Marcel Petiot, thank you.
Mark.
Oh, there's my phone ringing. All right.
I'll say cheerio. Join us again next week. In the meantime, have yourselves a strange week.
Hi, Izzy.
Don't become a doctor. And do nasty stuff.
I'm just finishing off the podcast with Andy. We did it early this morning.
God. You can follow us on Facebook. You can catch us on YouTube.
I'll call you in 2 minutes.
You can catch us everywhere.
All right.
Except Instagram, of course, because we don't do Musk. And everywhere else except Facebook and YouTube. So do that, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye for now.
Cheerio for now.